Hello, you guys. Another video from the English COVID seller in Litomierzyce. That's seller as in sklep, not in seller like you sell stuff, like Seller. So what I wanted to do is just talk a little bit and help you guys get ready for your credit test and go over words and phrases. Units 4 and 5 from Michael Vince, our main man, Michael Vince here. And I did a short video the other day on units 1 through 3. And today we'll cover a few words and for 4 and 5. And again, I just kind of want to help you know what to focus on these units. And these units are really short, and the vocabulary is somewhat useful. You'd notice in the Michael Vince book that, how to be an advanced speaker. Really, the vast majority of it is vocabulary. He has 20 units of grammar in the beginning, but the last 4 or 5, I believe, are pretty much vocabulary, phrasal verbs and stuff. And then he has a bunch of vocabulary. So, vocabulary is really important when you're trying to improve your English or navigate, like really complex English conversations with native speakers. It's like that vocabulary is really necessary. Of course, you need to have a grammar background, but and again, our classes here that we're going through, hopefully they can help you to some degree, but really the best way to improve your vocab and your grammar and your English in general is to read as much as you can, to listen as much as you can. If you're going to watch one of your TV shows or movies or films, like watch it in English with, English subtitles or check titles or whatever, but watch it in English. The more you hear, the more you are exposed to it, the better your English is going to be. Like, don't watch stuff that's made in England or America dubbed into Czech. Like, that's the worst thing. You have an opportunity to improve your English that way. So what I want to do is look at some of the stuff. Actually, I'm going to change glasses here because these function a little bit better. So I want to look at help you focus, like I said, on what to look at in these units 4 and 5 and their vocabulary. And again, this is, you can look at this. You can look at the notes. This is lecture 11. Lecture 11 in the Moodle platform, and these notes are here. And so we're going to look at, for example, here we have expressions with head, which not Joel Head, but expressions with head, which we have here. It's unit 4, exercise 3. And I just chose some of them to highlight in a lecture. And again, anything that you see in this lecture, any of the words that you see, focus on learning those exercises. So there's more phrases with head, but if you see head on here, focus on that because there's a really, really high chance that's going to end up on your credit test. And I, of course, want you to pass your credit test. I want everyone to pass. So a lot of these, you can kind of, learning vocabulary. The thing is like, there's a couple things. One is like the best way to learn it is to learn it in context, which is like through reading or listening or seeing it in a TV show or a film. And then you're like, oh, it's exactly what, you get what that means. So we can translate what something means. But again, especially the higher you get, the more your English improves. Direct translation's really not that helpful. It's actually, you can tell the people that do a lot of translating because that's what's called Chinglish. They speak Chinglish even if they know a lot of vocabulary. So the best way to deal with vocabulary and words you don't know is don't go to a translation dictionary. And I know some of you aren't going to hear this, you're not going to listen to me, but don't do it. Go to like Google, use Google because Google's using you. Go ahead and use it. There's all kinds of online dictionaries there, from Oxford, from Cambridge, to Merriam-Webster. There's English, like British ones, there's American ones, so it doesn't matter. And these will, show you, give you examples in context of idiomatic phrases. And also use Google and you will be able to it'll just naturally pop up, like when this expression is used in an essay or some post that somebody puts up somewhere, and you can just read that real quickly and you'll be like, oh, I think I get it, you know. And again, so a lot of these have more than one meaning, just like an idiomatic phrase. This is not a phrasal verb. These are expressions with head, which would be idiomatic phrases. And so, and again, they very often they can have more than one meaning, you know, just like in Czech. You know, like a phrasal verb can mean more than one thing, but sometimes an idiomatic phrase can too. So if you're in over your head, for example, let's just say that means that you're in a situation where you have taken on a task, or you're in a social situation that it's beyond you. You don't have the skills to deal with it. And the best way to sort of understand this is, let's just make a couple of examples. So you know, speak a little bit of Czech, and I speak more than I did like 10 years ago, 15 years ago. And but I told people I spoke Czech, and it wasn't exactly true. I knew a few words, but I went to meet Boženka's mom for the first time, and they were all expecting me to speak Czech, and like a bunch of relatives were there, and like, you know, like went in, and they were like, I spoke like for 5 minutes in Czech, and I have memorized it. That's all. And then like I couldn't, you know, that was it. I didn't understand what they were saying. And I realized that in the whole conversations that I was involved in, I was in way over my head. Their ability or knowledge to speak, or Czech was way more than mine. And I was in over my head. I couldn't even understand what was going on. So we can use this in lots of different situations. And again, this is what we want to do, is what do these phrases, what do they connect with? What situations, a phrasal verb, or any other sort of adjective, what other words can we connect it to? It's called a collocation. And because words connect differently in English than they would in Czech or in Spanish and German. So, I mean, this is a classic example of this is make and do. You have dělat, but we have make and do. But what do we connect with make, and what do we connect with do? So to some extent, these kind of phrases function the same way. So if you're off your head, it could just mean that you are completely drunk. You know, I got to the party and he was completely off his head, means he was just totally loaded. Or he was really angry because his girlfriend was dancing with someone else, and he was off his head with anger, throwing stuff around. If your head is in the clouds, you know, Margaret moved to Los Angeles when she was 21, and you know, she thought she was going to be working in television within 5 to 6 months, and she was going to be on a sitcom and then be in the film industry. And you know, she was kind of like not even studying acting or anything, but Margaret's head has always been in the clouds. She's a bit of a daydreamer. You know, her feet aren't grounded. And can't do it standing on your head is quite simple. It means it's really easy. You know, it's like if you would give um, Stephen Hawking, when he was still alive, a kind of mathematical equation that would really confuse me. I would be in way over my head on that. I wouldn't even know how to begin. He could do it standing on his head. It means is like he did boom, boom, boom and do it. It's something that he's done before, and it's easy. And if you can't make head or tail of something, it means it doesn't make sense to you at all. So I had to read Bohumil Hrabal story in Czech recently, and I was just realized like I can read Czech a little bit, but like I couldn't make head or tail of what he was saying in there. It didn't make sense to me. I was in way over my head on that, and I just couldn't make head or tail of what I was saying or what he was trying to express there. And keep your head down just means don't cause problems. You get a new job, don't cause problems, keep your head down. You know, like during the Second World War, everyone told like, you know, you had occupied by the Germans, and they're like, hey, just don't protest, don't get out there, don't don't cause problems. Just keep your head down, wait it out, and eventually we'll be okay. So now, again, these are just examples. This is a self-study book, so a lot of this you're going to need to do on your own. My main goal today is to get you just ready by telling you specifically what to focus on in the unit. Here are suffixes. We know we have prefixes, which come at the beginning of the word, and suffixes, which come at the end of the word. And here is an example. Again, this is from Unit 4, I believe, or maybe it's Unit 5. Yeah, Unit 5, number 2. And look at those, because those words, I'm not going to put anything on the credit test that isn't in the book. You know, I'm not going to try to trick you with other stuff. So if you take the time and the energy and you look at the book, you'll be well prepared for the credit test. And again, I want you to learn. I want you to like digest these words and get a sense of the grammar we've gone over. I'm not trying to trick you. I just want you to improve your English. And unfortunately, in this semester and maybe in the future one too, we have to do it this way. But so one thing that's really helpful or useful in English in any language is if you can move, like here we have if you see resign, that's a verb, and now we're moving to a noun. We can change it into a noun. So resign, I resigned from my job means I quit my job last week because I just felt it wasn't challenging enough. I need like a greater challenge. And so, or as a noun, I can say I gave my resignation. All right. So to go back and forth between these are really a sign that you're speaking English at a really proficient or advanced level. And so here are some words that Michael Vince gives us, and then he wants us to add suffixes, and sometimes we can add prefixes too, and like create a new word. So for example, with employ, we could have employee. I am an employee of UYAP. Employment is, you know, employment is really high in the Czech Republic right now. Employer, there's all these words, okay? So look through those, try to find out. We have child. Here's an example where we have child. We can say childless. And LESS in English, when you use that at the end of the word, it kind of means like without. So if you're childless, it means you're without child, all right? But we can also say childlike. And, you know, my grandfather looked at me with childlike eyes the day before he died, and he said, that he had lived a wonderful, fruitful life. Okay, so if something's childlike, it's not bad always. It can be like, it means it's a little innocent and naive. And sometimes that can be positive. Like we could say that some of the art, you know, Picasso's art seems to have a childlike quality to it. It doesn't really, but because there seems to be a simplicity to it. There seems to be a childlike quality to it. But that doesn't mean it's not complex or deep. All right. So expectation, sensible, fashionable, cleanliness. Now these are all things, I'm not going to go into them. Like what I'm trying to encourage you to do is in this exercise, look at these words, pay attention to them, because there's a good chance that not only these, but what other words are in this book from that same exercise very well could end up on your credit test, because they have in the past. Here's some adjectives. Now, and these are all connected with size. We think of big, little, small. All right, those are adjectives, you know, it's like a big problem. But we have these other words too: minor, substantial, bare, mere, widespread, well over, considerable. And what is important here is this idea of collocation, like I was talking about earlier. Okay, so minor means small, but I can say I have a small problem, or I can say we have a minor problem. I can say I had a really small meal for lunch, but I can't say I had a minor meal like that. It doesn't work that way. So what what we want to do is learn what nouns we can use with minor, what nouns. Substantial means big or large, but so does widespread. But so widespread, what can we connect to widespread with, and what can we connect substantial with? Considerable is, also means big. So sometimes there's places we can use either one or more of these. So we could say there was substantial damage to the house after the hurricane, considerable damage to the house after the hurricane. That's fine. That's good. Both of those are good on a test. Either one would get you a point. But you couldn't say widespread damage to the house. It just doesn't make sense. So widespread is more connected to like widespread. There's the disease is widespread. Widespread feeling in the country that COVID is never going to go away. There's this widespread feeling. All right. So what I want you to bear means small or little. Mere means small. Well over means just well beyond, well over 70 million people voted in the election. Well over 27. That's very, very often connected to a specific number. But I don't want to spend a lot of time I want you to go to Vince, look at the examples. Of course, his answers in the back. This is a self-study book. And then look at this and then go online. This is what's going to help you, and type in substantial. You're going to end up at a dictionary, not a translation to a Czech dictionary, but like a Oxford or Cambridge or Merriam-Webster at Noah's dictionary, doesn't matter. And then they will give you lots of examples of what substantial can connect to. And then you'll begin to get a sense of like how it works. All right. Expressions with make. Again, this is in I believe this is in unit 4. You can see there's a few more of these up here, and take a look at all of those. They're quite simple. Make a good impression, made a bad impression. I wanted to make a good impression on Boženka's mom the first time I met her, so I brought flowers and I tried to speak Czech, but then she realized I didn't really speak Czech and she didn't like that. And then she was like saying things to me and I was just like, oh, I don't know. And like that actually made a bad impression because she didn't really want her daughter dating a non-Czech speaker, So, but I don't want to bore you with that, but I made an effort, means I tried, all right? I made an effort to do my best, all right? Now, if you want to really do well at UYEP or any university, you need to make time for studying outside of class. You're not going to be able to do everything, just show up in class and take tests. You have to make time for your studies. It means create. If you're in a relationship, you have to make time for your partner. There's things like, oh, but I want to watch football. And you'll be like, well, no, but I want you, you have to like sacrifice. You're going to have to make time to keep that relationship strong and vital. That's just the way it is. You have to do something for your boss, like a project. You have to make time on Saturday to do that. All right. And make inquiries means that you want information, like let's say that you graduate from UYEP and now you're a master's in Czech master, and you want a job and you've always wanted to work at Glover Bell. It's been your dream to work at Glover Bell your whole life. So when you graduate, you go to the HR department and you make inquiries. Is what you do. And sorry, got a little distracted there. Now, And again, what's important is on your test as well. Like a lot of times you're going to be like, oh, look at it's like make an effort. I don't need, that's not important, but it actually is important. You need to get the "and" in there. You can't leave these small articles out, or you can't change the preposition in a phrasal verb, and you just can't do that. All right. And then these are some formal words that he gives us. I believe it's in Unit 5, and they're quite good. Lucrative, abandoned, discrepancy, rudimentary, dismissed. Lucrative is a great word. And it's like, let me put it this way. If you want to, teaching English is not a lucrative profession. It is not a lucrative profession. And lucrative means like you can make a lot of money from it. So abandoned, an abandoned building, you drive around some of the villages and you see these abandoned buildings, discrepancy. There's a huge discrepancy between in the election between, the vote total in Liberecký kraj. All right. So these are all, but again, what I want you to do is look at these words in units 4 and 5. Take some time, go through Google. It won't be too hard for you. And then, focus on what's here. I've put on here. There's a couple of other phrasal verbs, I believe, in 4 and 5. We have no, unit 2. Look at these. These are really easy. I recommend doing exercise 2. Again, take my word for this. People, don't worry about people. Exercise 4, don't waste time on that. Compound words, don't worry about that. And body movements and headlines, don't bother, but do look at. All right. Some of that, any sort of phrasal verbs or idiomatic phrases in the first might end up there. All right. So basically that is it for me. And that basically, hold on, girls. That's it for me. And hopefully that was useful. And that's it from the English Cellar for now.